Condos are still a fairly new concept in the scheme of things. They started right around 1960 in America. The average building is meant to make it to 30 to 40 years before needing repairs or replacements of major components and amenities, such as elevators, roof, HVAC, electrical, windows, balconies, plumbing, pipes, parking structures, and so forth, including amenities such as the pool and its deck, whether that's inside or outside. They're commercial buildings. Condos were intended to be an attainable form of housing that would have the same type of expenses as a single-family home, but when you put 25, 50, or 100 to 300 units under one roof and then spread those expenses across those units, it was a much more efficient and affordable solution. For instance, the rule of thumb is that home maintenance should cost 1 to 4% of the purchase price of your home each year. Let's use 2% to be more conservative. The idea was for condo owners to share those expenses and to either have access to more amenities for that same 2% or to have that 2% lowered maybe in half to 1%. At least that was the original intention. But now, today, condos are amongst the most expensive form of housing. 50% of our condos were built 30 years ago, and there's not enough saved in reserves for these normal repairs that come with age. It is believed that less than 20% of all HOAs are prepared properly, which means 70 to 80% of condo owners should instead be prepared for a special assessment because of this. As homeowners, you have to save for those rainy days. The same goes for condo owners. It is just done through the HOA, which all of the condo owners are owners of, instead of individually. But the things they are saving for are very different because this is a large commercial building, not a single-family home. They are still saving for a roof, pipes, plumbing, heat, HVAC, windows, parking structures, and such. But as you might imagine, these are all very different and have very different lifespans and prices in a large commercial building compared to a single-family home. Because condo owners have not been guided properly as to how much to save, they have had no idea when to expect those components and structures to need repairs or replacements, or how much to account for. This means proper funds have not been set aside in advance. The rainy day accounts are fairly dry, if not completely empty. This also means today's condo owners are paying for unfair usage and portions of these components, structures, and amenities, and are the ones left facing very large assessments because the money is not there. Yesterday's owners didn't know better and kicked the can down the road, and if we don't educate today's owners, it will continue to be kicked down the road until these surprise assessments affect all condo owners, or worse, until we face more tragedies like the one in Miami. The Miami collapse was a senseless tragedy that didn't have to happen. These were homeowners who didn't understand the urgency of a situation. For years, they voted against doing a reserve study, something we'll discuss later, to understand what that study is and the importance of it. And then once they did agree to do it and realized it was going to require more work than they had hoped for or could possibly afford, many did just that. They kicked the can down the road again, not understanding what the repercussions could or would end up being. Eventually, those who were involved in the inspections did a fantastic job of educating the HOA of what was continuing to only get worse structurally and persuaded them to do the work. It still took the HOA a while to agree to do it, though, because a $15 million project was a lot of money for them to then have to share across a monthly HOA increase. But they finally agreed, and the loan had been approved right before the collapse. A devastating story we cannot let happen in America again. Record-breaking assessments started 20 years ago as the first condos entered into 30 to 40 years of age. Special assessments such as $142,000 on $700,000 condos or $100,000 on $400,000 condos is becoming more real and more of the norm. And neither of those examples are from Florida, as many might think, in case you know anything about their current legislation and issues, something we'll talk about later. And now these outrageous assessments are becoming more of a very normal thing because repairs have to be made and the money is not there. And our biggest concern should be that 50% of our condos in America were built 30 years ago from now, which means the next 10 years will be filled with these stories, or worse, if we don't get ahead of things now. Again, these assessments are because something major and something required has failed or is failing and the money is not there. What happens if the HOA doesn't take care of the fix? Ultimately, it could result in another tragedy. What happens if the HOA approves the fix and a homeowner doesn't pay for it or can't pay their portion? Foreclosure. I often hear, why should condo owners have to pay all of this? Again, the idea was to share regular home maintenance expenses across condos, not being able to dodge them. There's a group out there fighting to let those who fall behind on HOA fees or assessments let them off easy. Well, what happens when you can't pay to replace your water heater in your home or your electrical or roof? Does anyone let you off easy? Here's a simple example. It's like purchasing a single-family home and assuming the roof, electrical, plumbing, foundation, windows were all in excellent condition. That's what you're paying for, only to learn that any one or more of those things needs to be replaced and you will have to personally find a way to pay for them, whether that is getting a second mortgage or paying cash. You paid for them thinking they were in excellent condition, but that's not what you got. First, you would want to go back on past homeowners, I'm sure of it. But in this case, you have no choice. The past homeowners are long gone. Remember, they weren't guided and didn't know how to save properly for today's owners. Or even if they did, it doesn't matter. The money isn't there. Another reason, this is an industry that should have been regulated from the beginning. So instead, you just need to get the components fixed, whether that's your foundation for safety, your heating system or pipes, and plumbing for water. You have no choice. My goal is to be a condo resource in all regards, and that includes a funding and finance resource for condo owners and their HOAs going through special assessments, especially like in the scenario in Florida, where they're trying to do the right thing by getting everything in order moving forward. It's going to be a tough one on condo owners, but I think we have solutions to help you. I know I scared a lot of you during this webinar, but I hope I didn't scare you away from condos. I think it's an amazing way to live. We just have to make sure everyone knows what they're getting into since we kind of got ourselves in a bind in America. My goal is to educate and protect everyone and to help condo owners save their homes and, sadly, potentially their lives. Knowledge and education is power, and until we have the proper legislation and regulations protecting buyers and owners, I'm hoping you can help spread the word so we can arm everyone with the power they deserve.